If you've been keeping an eye on Destiny 2 and are wondering what exactly we'll be able to play with come Lightfall, well, wonder no more because Bungie released a trailer this morning showing us some brand new gear and weapons coming to us here in Lightfall. These are some brand new exotics that we're going to be able to see and play around with. So we're going to go through this whole trailer and break it all down for you today. Hey, I'm LittleBobby here with 59 Gaming Direct, and today we're talking about Destiny 2's Lightfall weapons and gear preview trailer that Bungie released today, January 31st, 2023. But before we get into it, if you're brand new here, make sure you hit that subscribe button and ring that notification bell to stay up to date with all the news, reviews, and other content we bring you here on 59 Gaming Direct. And if you like this video, make sure you hit that like button. If you don't like it, hit that dislike button and let us know down in the comments what we can do better for next time. All right, let's get right into it. First, we get to see a shot of each Guardian class running towards the camera in what are some of the most awesome armor sets I've seen in quite a while. I remember when the Witch Queen came out, I was like, those armor sets look kind of mid, right? They don't look too hot, at least in my opinion. I didn't really think they were anything special, and I wasn't super hyped. But these ones, I really like this like neo pop synthwave, like future tech look that they're going for, that they've been going for since they debuted the first Lightfall trailer. And it goes on to show some of the silhouettes of the weapons that we're going to be covering in this video. And it does also show us that there are some Vex on Neomuna, which is something I don't think we had really seen concretely before. I don't know, maybe I'm mistaken, but here we definitely see that on the new location, aside from the Cabal threat that we knew we were going to be facing, we are going to be seeing a number of Vex enemies. I'm also wondering if there's going to be any others, like maybe there's going to be Taken or Hive somewhere. I highly doubt the Elixni will make it out that far, although it does seem like that would be the spot for Elixni to make it out, right? With all that technology, because they're the race that's based on trying to get their hands on more and more scavenged technology. But right after that, we get a look at the first exotic we're seeing here in this trailer. It's called Final Warning. And this is going to be a Strand sidearm that shoots tracking rounds at nearby enemies. And that is really cool. If you look at the footage here, we're going to slow it down for you, but make sure you watch this here. This is very much like the smart pistol from Titanfall and Titanfall 2. If you never played Titanfall 2, do yourself a favor. It is $2.99 on Steam, I believe, right now. Get that game. $2.99, that is one of the best campaigns of all time, and the PvP is the single most fun PvP I've ever played in all of my life. I promise you, if you're a fan of Destiny, you like the movement, fast-paced action, you are going to love Titanfall 2. It is a blast, and it is like $3 right now. Aside from that, we get this very cool tracking pistol. It shows each shot going to like a different Vex, right? It's taking one out, then taking the next, and we gotta wonder, is that like a charge up thing? Do you have to hit a certain amount of precision shots? Do you have to hit a certain amount of just regular shots or get a certain number of kills before you can activate this? It's gonna be really overpowered if not. So hopefully we can see Bungie really keeping this thing reined in, because I predict that this especially will be a nightmare in PvP as it was in Titanfall 2. But thankfully in Titanfall 2, it went from being like a normal weapon that you could choose to being like an ultimate or a super that you had to pick for your character and get a certain number of kills to activate. So hopefully this exotic does have that perk, but if it's good in PvE, then we should see some really good stuff happening there too. It could make that sidearm really, really strong and be really, really good at clearing out ads, especially if you get overrun, because we have seen that Bungie has been really, really upping the enemy density in the last couple of seasons. And speaking of enemy density and having to clear out a lot of enemies at once, the trailer goes right into showing off a new Void machine gun called Deterministic Chaos. It says it gives rhythmic debuffs, and for what it looks like, every 4th shot, it creates a weakening effect on enemies, and then every 16th shot, it's creating a volatile explosion from a volatile round. So I assume what Bungie was going for here was, if you're a musician, you probably know what 16th notes are. If you're not, each beat in music has what's called subdivisions, where you can subdivide the beat into smaller subsections, and one of them is called 16th notes. So every 16th note is represented by 4 to a beat. So if we have 4 to a beat, every 4 gives a weaken, and then on the 16th one, the reset of the whole set of 4 beats, we're getting the volatile round explosion. I think that's really cool as a musician. It lets me kind of nerd out a little bit. The music nerd part of my brain is going, hey, are they going to add like polyrhythms to the catalyst? So like every 3rd, it does, it does something else, like maybe not that, but maybe it does suppress, right? Every 3rd. So you get these like 3/4 kind of rhythmic debuffs that happen. I think that would be really cool. I don't know. I'm not a game dev, so I have no idea. It's just my music nerd side coming out here a little bit, and I'm hoping this is something that's really useful, because it looks like it's pretty powerful from the footage we see here. And after this, Bungie moves on to start showing us some of the brand new exotic armor that's going to be coming out. I assume this is going to be some of the exotic armor that you can get in the legendary lost sectors like we have now, and you'll probably be able to select one at the end of the legendary campaign. Remember, pro tip, if one is seen to be much better than the other, make sure that you select the one that is not the good one as the one you're going to get from the legendary campaign, because it will very likely drop with the lowest possible stats like it did at the end of the Witch Queen. But to start us off, we do see Sirdarachni's Facade, and this is a hunter helmet that is going to give hunters armor and anti-flinch right after a grapple. And you might be going, okay, that sounds cool, I guess. Well, this is absolutely a PvP focused exotic, which I'm totally fine with. A lot of people say that exotics should have their utility in both, but I'm very much of the mindset that as long as an exotic has a defined function in either PvP or PvE, then that exotic is absolutely fine and should just be left how it is. There are definitely some exotics that don't really have a strength in either right now that, you know, could use some tuning up. But this one actually looks pretty cool, because imagine you are in the Crucible and you like to snipe. Well, sniping right now is really hard. And especially as a hunter, because hunters tend to pick recovery and mobility as their main stats out of the top 3 stat trees. And the problem is that if you're a hunter who likes to snipe, your resilience is going to generally be pretty low. And having a low resilience means that you're going to take more flinch. This is actually going to kind of even up the playing field in terms of anti-flinch for a lot of hunters who rely on their dodge and their recovery to keep them alive while playing the Crucible. I think this is pretty cool. This does seem like a kind of a barrier thing, and almost like you have to play like a Widowmaker from Overwatch style, where now you're going to be meant to grapple into a position, take a quick snipe, and then grapple away or just dodge away to get out of there. And while that certainly does sound super overpowered, remember that Bungie has said that the Strand grapple is going to be tied to the grenade ability recharge. So if you are worried about people just grappling in and out and being super mobile, they're going to have to wait a little bit. So even if you're picking, you know, the fastest recharging grenade, if that's how it works to use your grapple, you're still going to have to wait probably 20 to 25 seconds for that grapple to come back. And I think that's a fair balance, right? Because if this gives anti-flinch for 3 seconds, right, you have to get in there, line up your shot really quickly, and then take it. Otherwise, you're going to get flinched just like normal. I think that's absolutely fair. And then if you need to, you can hopefully get out as a hunter. But we'll have to see how this one plays out in practice. Moving on from there, we're going to see the Abeyant Leap Titan exotic leg armor. This is going to be a brand new pair of leg armor or brand new pair of boots that lets Titans add lashes to their barricade. So in the Bungie press site description, it says when Titans use their barricade with this exotic leg armor, it spawns seeking projectiles that suspend enemies and give armor to its wielder. Now this is really interesting because in PvE, this is going to be great for crowd control, and it already looks like Strand is going to be really, really good for crowd control. But here we're going to see in a pinch, you're absolutely going to be able to throw that wall up, protect your team, and kind of get some breathing room by locking enemies down for just a couple seconds. Now, what I'm wondering is how strong is this going to be in PvP as well? Because I could see, especially with Titan barricades still being on a relatively low recharge, not quite as low as they were before, but on a relatively low recharge, they're able to get a lot of these suspension lashes up and keep people just basically locked down. And in PvP, if it keeps you locked down for a second, that's enough to get a kill with just about any primary weapon in the game, which to me would be kind of problematic. So hopefully they learned their lesson from stasis and they're not going to make this too strong and make it lock people down for too long, because that's going to be really, really disheartening if we went from stasis having that issue last expansion, or a few expansions ago now, I guess, to now Strand having this same problem in this brand new expansion that everybody's pretty hyped about. But overall, it does look like a really cool set of leg armor for PvE, and I'm really hoping it does help with that crowd control. That's one of the things that Titans, I feel like, should really excel at, is crowd control, and they kind of do in some cases. I know that Stasis Titans and Void Titans really do in terms of their ability to either lock down or really just blow up an entire room with, you know, volatile and things like that, or freeze with stasis. So I'm hoping this really adds to that kind of bag of tricks and lets Titans play that role of, hey, we're locking it down for the other two classes to really go in and get things done. And from there, we go on to see the Quicksilver Storm and what appears to be the catalyst effects. It says grenades create tangles on kills. Now, tangles we haven't really heard about, but from the footage we've got here, it looks like when you get a grenade kill with the Quicksilver Storm grenade function, it's going to create kind of a ball that sits there that you can pick up and throw at enemies to do massive damage. And that reminds us a lot of Ruinous Effigy, if you remember that trace rifle, which you may not if you're a newer player, but it did come out a few years ago. The issue with it was that it was really, really strong. Not only did it do that, but it also let you create a shield around you with the ball, and the ball did damage as well. But it got a heavy nerf a couple years back, and it hasn't really been the same since. Nobody's really used it quite as much. So I'm hoping with Quicksilver Storm, we get to see that retain its power that it has when it starts, and that it's powerful enough to really make it worth using as an exotic primary. Right after that, we really quickly move to the Swarmers Warlock exotic boots called the Swarmers, and they say destroying tangles spawns threadlings. And judging by the footage here, it looks like threadlings are going to be little seeker kind of sub projectiles that run across the ground, kind of like the opposite of ionic traces, right? If you're using an arc class, those ionic traces will kind of run across the ground and come towards you to give you ability energy. These look like they're going to be little tracers that head out towards enemies and do additional damage, kind of like the colony where they follow the enemies around along the floor. And I think that's really cool because it allows for synergy between the Quicksilver Storm exotic with the Catalyst and Warlocks just intrinsically because of this boots. If Warlocks get that kind of crowd control, that could make them and Titans really a force, which means that Bungie might really be upping the amount of enemy density that they're planning to put in, like the open explorable areas, as well as the missions come Lightfall. And we know they have been trying that. Certain strikes and certain open areas have had lots more enemies than we're used to seeing. Take, for example, the heists this season, the seasonal activity. Those have a ton of enemies in just about every room, and they just rush in and go for you. And I think that really aggressive and really like swarming, you know, no pun intended, that swarming enemy feeling feels great. And when you have more ways to deal with that, that feels great as well. But up next in the footage is the Winter Bite, and this is a stasis glaive. This is the first kinetic slot glaive that we're going to get. This is an exotic glaive that will freeze enemies with a frozen orb. It looks like you're going to be able to shoot and freeze enemies and then shatter them with the melee attack of this glaive. And I could absolutely see this thing being a terror in PvP if there isn't something to balance out that freezing. If you can just freeze with every shot or slow down enemies with every shot, and you take that into Crucible, that thing is going to be absolutely busted. I am super stoked to get a kinetic slot glaive after all this time, because that's one of the things I've wished for a long time. But this is one of those ones that's going to be very worrisome. I'm hoping that Bungie really has thought about this and thought about the freezing effect on a glaive before introducing it into PvP. But as for PvE, I'm going to be rocking this with a Warlock with Ice Flare bolts and absolutely going to town, freezing anything and everything that gets in my way. I do also want to say that this thing has the absolute coolest aesthetic for any glaive I have seen in the game so far. This picture from the Bungie press site absolutely shows off how great this glaive looks, and man, I am just so stoked to get my hands on this thing. I'm pretty sure that, as with every other glaive, we're going to have to do some kind of exotic quest for this one, but I'm happy to do it. Let me have this ice trident evil looking thing and freeze all of the bad guys. That's all I want, Bungie. Thank you so much. But that's basically it for this trailer. The rest of the trailer is just footage of these weapons kind of being in combat. It's about like 10 to 15 seconds. It looks great, as Bungie trailers do, but the hype is in this brand new gear. Personally, I love every piece of everything that I saw today. I'm really excited. Again, hoping that Bungie has thought to balance these things for Crucible, because we know how Crucible players feel when brand new expansion comes out and all that new stuff is super overpowered. But as I've said before, I'm excited for this expansion. I think that Bungie has done, especially in the last few weeks, a really fantastic job of making changes and announcing the right things at the right time. They've made some fantastic changes just to the systems in the game, with some patches that came out today, making seasonal weapons 1 per day, doing other things to like balance out reputation gains in modes like Iron Banner, adding more reputation games in Gambit and Crucible and Vanguard, all that stuff. They're really showing that they're listening and they are trying to make the game better. Now, if you're a PvP player, I can definitely understand your frustration, but personally, I've been playing the 6v6 lately and it feels great. it's crazy. It's like night and day. I don't know what they did, but recently they made some changes to the back end, they said, to do like quote unquote dynamic skill matchmaking. And now my connections are 100 times better. In the few days since they've made those changes, I've been able to play like maybe 15 matches. And out of all of them, I saw one person who clearly had a bad connection. And one person I thought, maybe this guy is a little laggy, but I'm not sure. Maybe it's just a game. Who knows? But overall, I've been in there and I go, you know what? I died. That was on me. It wasn't because I got shot from, 500 meters away between 4 buildings. It was because I got outplayed, and that feels great. Like, I'm totally happy to play skill matchmaking as long as the connections work. And I have said that when they first did their skill matchmaking, when they first did it, it felt really good. The connections felt good. The skill base felt good. Matches felt pretty even. They were a little sweaty, but it was fun and everything felt good. Then they started tweaking it and it just felt more and more unbalanced. Like they undid everything and then at the same time made the matchmaking quality, right, the lag, way worse. So if you're looking forward to Lightfall, if you're looking forward to trying out any of these exotics, let us know down in the comments. You know us here at 5-9 Talon streams just about every weekend, at least one Destiny raid. Me myself, I'm going to try and be streaming some Lightfall on the channel here on Tuesdays for resets when Lightfall comes around. So make sure that you're here and you follow and you hit that sub button so you can show up and let us know how you're enjoying Lightfall when it comes out February 28, 2023. Again, I'm LittleBobby here with 5-9 Gaming Direct. I do want to thank you for watching today. Make sure to subscribe, ring the bell, and let us know if you like this video. Click that like button. Or if you didn't, click that dislike button. That's cool too. But let us know in the comments why you clicked the dislike button. Thank you so much. And again, let us know what you're looking forward to most out of Lightfall. Appreciate your time today. We hope to see you soon.